Hi, and welcome to Studio SN. My name is Sara Naumann, and today I want to show you a really cool background technique using layers of gelatos, dilutions, and rubber stamps. I've combined gelato pigment sticks with gesso to make this soft green background here on my card. And actually, this card has 3 layers of background, so I'm going to point them out to you so you can see. First it's that teal, which is the gelato and the gesso, making a really soft kind of chalky effect on there. Then you can probably see a bit of yellow here on the background as well. That's Dylusions ink spray, so that's been sprayed over the gelato. And then the 3rd layer, of course, is the stamping background on here. So for a pretty simple card, it's got 3 things going on in the background, but they're all really easy to do. So let me show you how I've done it. First, I'm going to start with my white cardstock, and this is just a matte cardstock, nice sturdy weight. And then I need my gelato, and gelatos are pigment sticks from Faber-Castell. This happens to be the spearmint color. And these are little sticks of pigment color. They are wonderful to use for coloring backgrounds as they are. You could just color right on here. But you can also combine the color with things like gesso, and you'll get a different effect. So just like a lip balm, you're gonna take off the cap and then just scrub this onto your palette. Now, you can do this directly onto your craft sheet. I'm doing it in a little plastic cup so that I can take it away and move the mess out of my way more easily without having to mop it up. But either way is fine. So I'm just rubbing that directly on here. And then I'm gonna add a little bit of gesso. And gesso is kind of like a white acrylic paint. It looks like it. It's a primer, and it will give some tooth to your projects and paper. And at the same time, it will alter the color of your paint, or in this case, the color of your gelato. So I'm just mixing this up with a paintbrush. You don't need a whole lot because the paper I'm working on is pretty small. Get that mixed up and then simply paint it on to the paper. Now I'm using a dry brush, and I have not added water to my gelato mix here, so this is going to dry pretty quickly. You'll notice that I'm getting kind of a scuffy effect, which is the effect of the dry brush. If I'd added water, it would be a lot more fluid, of course, but I kind of like this scuffy look. And I'm not going all the way to the edges. I'm not covering the entire thing, but I am getting a nice center coating on here. That's what I want. So when I have this done, as much as I want it colored and covered, then I just need to let it dry, and it will only take a second or 2 to dry, as I said, because it is kind of a dry medium anyway. So then, if I've got my dried piece, and I'll bring in a dry one over here, then I'm going to add my 2nd layer, which is the dilutions. Now, to spray my dilutions, I'm going to need to protect my work surface a little bit more, because this is an ink spray, and it does tend to go everywhere. So you want to make sure that you protect your work surface. I'm using my standard recycled Amazon box, which has been undone, and this will kind of protect the sides and the bottom of my work area. So you can see it's got this little flap here too. The stencil that I'm working with is the Tiny Circles from Crafter's Workshop. You can see that really nice kind of uneven little circles pattern. So I'm going to put this down and just hold down my stencil. I'm not taping it down. The Dylusions color that I'm using is Lemon Zest, and I have to say I have almost all of the Dylusions, and this is the one I use the most. And I'm not even a yellow person, but this yellow is beautiful. It's so clear and vivid, but at the same time it can be subtle too, so that's really nice. So I'm just going to hold this down, and then I just need to spray a couple of spritzes to get my yellow. And I'm going to take a roll of paper towel and blot this. And yes, I'm using the whole roll. Diane Reevely, who developed the Dylusions, she shared this trick with me, and it works beautifully. Doesn't waste paper towel either, or kitchen roll as she would call it, because she's from the UK. Okay, then I'll remove my stencil, and you can see on here my color is really nice and subtle, and really allows the teal to show through. Now, on the white area where I don't have my gelato, you can really get a better sense of the pattern of the tiny stencils. As for the rest, it's really just adding a little bit of the yellow color without covering up the gelato. So it really allows it to shine through. So then my next step is going to be to add my stamping. So let me set aside my box and get out my stamps and my inks. Now, the stamps that I'm using are from a set I designed for Paper Artsy, and this is the Eclectica line. This is ESN 02, and you can see on here all of these nice border backgrounds. And you can use them, of course, individually, but you can also use them all together for a background. So I'm gonna get first the script stamp and put it down onto my block. And I'm using VersaFine Onyx Black. And I'll just ink this up. It may surprise you to know that you can stamp on the gelato. Some people have been surprised by that, but it actually does provide a really nice stamping surface. And I'll just press this down, and you can see how beautifully and how vividly that stamps. Now for the rest of my background, and let me bring back in my card, you can see I've got all of these other images on here, all of those other backgrounds. I could stamp them each individually if I wanted to, but I decided to save some time, and I've mounted them all in the positioning that I want, all on one clear acrylic block. So this is going to save me a little bit of time. So I'll just ink it all up as one stamp and get this all nice and inky. And you'll notice I've left a gap on here, and I'll show you why in a second. That's where an embellishment is going to go. So then I'm going to take this, carefully turn it over, and then stamp down. Just one stamp, one press, makes it so easy. And then I have my background all stamped up. So let me swipe this out of the way so that you can see. I've got this empty space here, and that's because I put some baker's twine and a silk flower with a mother of pearl button on here, so that can kind of fill the space. So I've got lines that are going both vertically and horizontally, giving a nice balance here. Before I glued that whole piece down onto my card front, I just took a black ink pad and edged around the outside edges, and you just hold the ink pad perpendicular to your paper and edge around the outside, and it gives it a little bit of a border without you having to mat it onto black paper or another paper. So let me bring back in my original card and show it to you again. So I've got everything just simply put down onto the front of the card after I wrapped that baker's twine and put the silk flower here onto the front of my card. So it's a simple card design, but lots of layers and lots of depth. I think it works great for either a masculine or a feminine card, which is nice. And it also gives you a nice way of using these border stamps for something other than a single border. So this is how to use gelatos and gesso plus Dylusions for a really soft, pretty background. I hope you enjoyed this segment today. For more inspiration, please do stop by my website at saranaumann.com. Thanks so much for watching, and I will catch you next time.